Welcome back after the break. Let's continue with question 3.3. So now we're having a look at a bit of questions regarding settlement geography. And what we're going to do over here, we're going to compare Dal Josaphat to the Noorderpool and block F11 to block F12. Now let's just quickly have a look at it. Now what they want us to do, we need to compare the main land use zone, the land value, and the degree of pollution. Now let's just quickly have a look at block F12 and F11. Now there you can see this block over here is F11, and there Dal Josaphat is situated over there. Now immediately what do I see? Noorderpool is a residential area, definitely, because look at the street pattern over there. And if you look at Dal Josaphat, what do I see? I see a station over there. I see silos over there. So this is definitely an industrial area that's taking place in F12. Now let's quickly have a look at the table and see what the questions are being asked over there. Now if you look at the main land use zone in Dal Josaphat, we just established it's industrial. And Noorderpool is a residential area. Now, what does residential means? It means people live there. If you look at the land value, what do you think the land value is going to be where the industrial area is? Obviously, it's cheap. Because keep in mind, this industrial area, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of pollution taking place, and people need the land to be able to process things. Noorderpool is a residential area, so if you look at the property sizes, it's quite big as well. If you look at Noorderpool over there, just want to go back, as you can see, it's probably going to be expensive to live over there. I mean, if you look at all the recreation areas surrounding Noorderpool, and I mean, there's a school, there's a church, etc. So definitely, if you look at the situation over there, it's going to be expensive. Now, the degree of pollution obviously is going to be very high in Dal Josaphat because of all the industries, heavy industries, and Noorderpool is going to be it's going to be less. There's many green belts around the area. Okay, so let's quickly have a look at our next question. Refer to Groenheuwel and block EF13 on a topographical map and marked 4 on the orthophoto. Now let's go and have a look at both of them. EF13 E and F13. There's Groenheuwel over there, as you can see. Now there's a school situated over there, there's a church, and there's a clinic. Now let's look at the questions that's being asked. Identify the street pattern of Groenheuwel. That's definitely planned irregular. Okay. Now name one advantage and one disadvantage of a street pattern. Now when you identify your street patterns, know your advantages and disadvantages. So let's go and look at the advantage first. And one advantage, obviously, there's going to be less congestion, traffic jams. Another one that you can mention as well, it's not boring, it's interesting. And it saves time. Now, what's going to be the disadvantages of a planned irregular street pattern? You can get lost easily. There's not many one-ways, that's the reason why. Another disadvantage we can say is difficult to expand. Now if you look at our next question, 3.4.3, the area Groenheuwel marked 4 in the orthophoto, and we just have a look at, is a low-income residential area. Give 2 pieces of evidence from the orthophoto map to prove the statement. Now let's go to the orthophoto. Well, first of all, immediately what do I see? Look at the stands. It's quite small. It's not massive stands, and all the houses look similar in shape. And another reason why I agree with the statement, because it's situated next to the industrial area. Okay, so that will definitely answer our question. First of all, we looked at it. Very small stands. Small houses as well. It's close to the industries. And if you look at it, have a look, there's not many trees around or vegetation around it. It's not an established neighborhood. And we can also mention, look how densely clustered they are. Okay, so no vegetation. And clustered. So that gives us the indication that it's definitely a low income area. If you look at quickly question 3.5, Paarlberg and block F, G and H, 8, 9 and 10 is an example of volcanic intrusive landform. Now it used to be a batholith, and over the years that batholith are being exposed as a massive granite dome. As you can see, because of erosion, referred to both the topographical map and orthophoto. Now first of all, 3.5.1 state the rock type that results from the volcanism before it has been exposed above the Earth's surface. Now let's just quickly go and have a look at it. There's the massive pole rock on the left hand side over here. This whole area over there, you can see it over there. Now the questions that was asked, state the rock type, definitely igneous or granite. Granite is a type of igneous rock. Identify the landform, refer to after it has been exposed. Now that's a granite dome. Before it was exposed, it was a batholith. Okay, then if we quickly look at this question, 3.5.3, of what potential value is the Paarlberg feature likely to be to the economy of Paarl? Now, first of all, it's the biggest igneous intrusion that's being exposed to the surface. So definitely a tourist attraction. And what can people do? It can also provide building material because it's made out of granite. And definitely, because it's a tourist attraction, it can create jobs. And we can use it for recreation purposes. Okay. Now there you can see, basically studied the photograph of the Paarl Valley. As you can see, Paarl is situated inside the valley, surrounded by massive mountains. Now, as you can see in block F12, where Paarl is situated. Now the first question, what type of photograph is the photograph in the Paarl Valley? You've learned about that in grade 9, and that will be an oblique photograph. A photograph from the side. Okay. Identify the slope wind that people in the valley are likely to experience in the evening. Now, if we go back to it, as you can see, pole is situated in the valley. This is a high altitude to a low altitude on the other side. Now, when I refer to a valley from a cross-section point of view, just want to move on. That's a valley. Now, the question, we experience valley climates. What type of breezes do we experience during nighttime? The air sinks to the bottom of the valley. We experience katabatic breezes. Now 3.6.3, would you recommend any industrial development to take place in the Pole Valley, for instance over here? Definitely not, because what will happen because of the pollution, it will be trapped below the thermal belt, creating smog. Okay, smog, first of all, definitely not, no, because smog will be trapped. Below the inversion layer. Okay, if you look at our next question, name one other factor visible on a topographical map that indicates that nature conservation is important to the people living in Pole. Now, what's conservation? It's to preserve, to look after. Conservation is like the Kruger National Park. It's a national park where we protect fauna and flora. Now let's go and have a look at our map, and there's quite a few over there. There's the Poleberg Nature Reserve and the Wildflower Reserve. So it's the Poleberg Nature Reserve because they protect the fauna and flora. And the Wildflower Nature Reserve. Okay, and that's our questions that follow on interpretation of the theory on the map or paper. That's it. That's unfortunately all we got time for today. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Looking forward to see you next time around. Cheers.